Hello, frog people. Today I wanted to talk about the current trend in Western civilization, that is, the wild and wacky ways that people have chosen to categorize themselves. And what I mean by that is, if you look at history, you can see a dramatic change in how people identify themselves, whether it be with their gender or what attributes and characteristics they attribute to themselves, whether it be on the internet or real life or whatever. But I thought it was interesting how, I think it's interesting how, as time has gone on and we've broached into the digital age, it has become increasingly popular to associate yourself with characteristics like demi-queer, wolfkin, depressed, schizopill-based ambrosia dealer or something, you know? Just, the internet has almost allowed people in the Western world to, kind of create these words that have vague concepts attached to them and accept them into their personality as real world attributes. Whereas in the past, that wasn't really the case, or at least to my knowledge, not on this grand of a scale. And I wonder why, you know, like why now, and why to this extent has this saturation of identity kind of happened, you know? And so I kind of go back to the early 2000s and in Facebook, you know? You guys will see my point in one moment, but back when Facebook came out, what was the purpose for Facebook? To post your vacation pictures with you and your wife? No, it wasn't that. It was to check up on your high school friends and shit on them. So, inevitably, a side effect of the internet and the, you know, connectivity that is spread out across the Western Hemisphere has been, of course, to upload pictures of yourself and what you're doing in your life, and that's why it's called social media. The entire aspect of a very large chunk of the internet is a very social aspect that allows people to connect together. And so back in 2008, Facebook rolls around and you're checking out on your this douchebag Ricky from high school who you got in a fight with once, and he was the hard ass of your school or whatever. Turns out he's working waste management or something like that. My point is there's always been a concept of social competition that happens on the internet, and especially when it comes to identity. Now, as social media and the internet has really exploded into the cyberspace, and more people have logged on and kind of created this world that is not, physical so much as it's ethereal. It's fucking nothing. People have, it's become the idea that you can create your own identity online and associate attributes and characteristics to yourself has become more saturated. So it's not just competing with, some guy, you used to go to high school with. Now it's, people just pick shit that sounds cool. That's what I can guess. Of course, people need to pretend to care about something. Living in the Western world, and especially in America, life is relatively easy. You're not starving for food, and very little people actually have to struggle to survive. And of course, like there's always exceptions, but I'm talking to a demographic of people that's primarily between the ages of 16 to 30, like the younger generation of millennials and the Gen Z generation. People just need shit to care about. So the more you look into how this concept of identity permeates into social media and internet culture, people have started making up these terms and these concepts like, oh, so if you're a demi-queer, non-binary, depressed something or other, alien creature who lives in Davenport, Iowa, these people fight for gender rights or, equal pay or transgender bathrooms, when in reality, none of this was a problem beforehand. Life has become easy for a lot of people in the Western Hemisphere, and it all comes down to identity, I believe. The concepts of attaching attributes to oneself to kind of make them the person that they want to be is not based off of noticing patterns in your life that you have observed in your job or in your social life or something like that. An identity is no longer created based off of the work you do in the real world, but how you feel. On a consistent basis, and the shit that you pretend to care about. And how has it become to this point? Well, I believe that everyone's looking for something that makes them special, whether it's a cause that they fight for or a way to stand out. And this has been, something from, the beginning of time. It's why people have cliques, fashion sense, it's pride, hell, why do you think the whole gay thing is called pride? Because they're proud to be gay. It's their identity. But that's just something that's been on my mind recently, is the oversaturation of characteristics pulled from the internet, or attributes that you feel will make you special, attaching them to your character. And why we have come to this sort of corner in history where you're getting some wild and wacky people who are claiming to be multisexual and multi-gender. Just the entire concept of what it means to be a person has become so saturated and lost. And I really began to wonder why. But the other part of this is I don't really blame them. You can't really blame some of these people, who have turned to this sort of easy out, For creating an identity, it takes a measure of introspection and, pattern noticing, and takes hard work and time, maturity. But it's much easier to go on the internet and see people like you, or see people who you empathize with, and pull attributes from whatever they're doing and compound it in some way with some other shit you've heard online, and now this is you. 15 years ago, nobody was walking around in New York City with a wolf mask on claiming to be Wolfkin. Or whatever. 20 years ago, schizopilled is not a word, but now if I say that word on Twitter, everyone will know what I'm talking about. But in the end, everyone's looking for something that makes them special in some way. Everyone's looking for a way to create an identity for themselves, especially when in the cyberspace and in the internet, everyone is so unique and different. It's easy to feel like you're just a number, like you're, that you're not special. So you have to create something, create some identity for yourself that's different from the rest, or at least different from most. And everyone wants attention. Everyone wants, to be looked at. So doing whatever you can on the internet to garner the most attention, whether, be claiming a different sexuality or a different... it's almost like in Skyrim where, like people are like actually like picking their race on like Twitter or whatever, and their sexuality, and like giving themselves new names and all that. And with like, cosmetic surgery, you can really be whoever you want to be. And I just think that's just wacky. It's just so incredibly new and funny. But how do I wrap this up? I guess I can end with saying a lot of these things, on the internet that people have donned as an attribute or a distinctive personality trait. No, you're not a kitty boy, you're a guy wearing cat ears. These things are not really based in reality. The things that less disciplined or less wise people take from the online world and imprint onto their actual personality is not really founded in anything real. Enough people have bought into this sort of collective delusion or lunacy so that we're talking about it enough to the point where it's become familiar, but really it's not real. And so this can also be a side effect or a cause, or a side effect of this phenomenon could also be the bipolar disorders and the depression and mental illness that's rising in the country, at an expedited rate. The creation of the internet and the spread of social media is absolutely cause to that, and I'm not the first person to say it, but that is what happens whenever you connect people together on such a massive scale. It's human nature. The internet is a tool. The internet's not a bad guy. No one wired it to work this way. The weakness and less disciplined and unwise of us have come together to create this sort of internet environment where things that are not based in reality can permeate work culture in the real world and be talked about. But if I'm going to end this, I guess I would say to build a real identity is to do a few things. It takes a matter of introspection. Strength, and understanding of yourself. And not understanding of yourself in like, oh, you know yourself, but understanding of your flaws, your weaknesses, and your strengths, and where you can possibly improve and what conclusions you might derive from that. It's a long, arduous, and painful process to create an identity for yourself. And in a world where the wealth of human knowledge is at your fingertips on your phone or on your computer, you can order food from your house, you can look up porn on your computer and jerk off, and you can doom scroll for hours on end on TikTok for that dopamine rush. It can be really easy to get whatever you want and for easy outs to be created. But to not let that happen, to resist the temptation to let things come easy to you, especially in your identity, in your character is a strength that is not present in a lot of people nowadays. And I'm not saying that, you know, people are getting weaker. People have always been this way, but it's just, you know, with the tool of the internet now being available to mostly everybody, we're just seeing it more. But yeah, I just want to talk about that a little bit, you know, the oversaturation of identity via the internet, the attributes that people have pulled from the internet, and social media culture, and attaching it to their personalities. And to leave off with how to, in my interpretation, I ain't no psychologist. Hell, I dropped out of college. So, I mean, who am I? I'm just some dude. But anyways, how to effectively at least start the process of building a character for yourself in a healthy, constructive way. But anyways, that's that.